Someone I'd matched with on Hinge, on finding out that I identified as pan-romantic, that first response was that, can you come out like to people like after we've gone on a date, so that I can tell people that I turned someone gay. Someone who identifies as like a queer Muslim woman, with like the current socio-political situation, I think for me it's like really important that a person who I'm interacting with the idea of getting into a romantic relationship with, or any sort of relationship with for that matter, to not be boycotted in like any sense. Like, it comes down to the whole thing of like someone who's like systematically against my identity can't really care about me sort of thing. Especially like this year, almost every girl that I've matched with on a dating app has somehow been very right-wing, and like immediately it's sort of like a red flag. Like, they've been right-wing but they've also been queer, and it sort of like narrows the entire pool down.
What makes me feel safe is when my partner accepts me as I am. So I am non-gender confirming, and a partner not trying to change me to blend into society and what society expects me to be.
Also like a respect for my boundaries, because at least part of my identity, like sexual orientation, is defined by the fact that I'm on the asexual spectrum. So, and even though I'm not necessarily sex repulsed, I'm not very comfortable with people not very close to expressing their desire for me sexually. It sort of like makes me really uncomfortable.
For me, even though I'm femme-aligned, I refuse to accept my gender as just of a woman. But in a relationship with, suppose, a cis-het man, I'm automatically assumed to be the more feminine one, so that I can validate the stereotype of a straight relationship, or validate my partner's perceptions of me. Or maybe in a WLW relationship, it's automatically assumed that I would be the guy in the relationship because I'm non-binary, even if I would like to be, let's say, femme. And in that way, it becomes an imposition of my identity based on stereotypes of other people.
For me, green flag and red flags are not constant. Yeah, there are some red flags, like if someone continuously misgender me, and say that this happened because of mistake, don't see me as a man, then they don't understand my bodily discomfort, my dysphoria, then that are red flags for me.
What makes me unsafe in a relationship is when my partner isolates me. I mean, many people in the LGBT community have chosen families because our families wouldn't have accepted us, and we would have families in the community like who becomes our chosen family. And when we are isolated completely, we don't have anybody but other than the partner to depend on or for everything, and which is not an ideal situation to be.
I think one of like my earliest experiences on a dating app was when I mentioned to someone that I was asexual, and their first response was that they're not very patient sort of thing. So that's immediately a red flag to me. Like, very often, like I've matched with a guy, and like the thing about me being queer comes out as this very instant like fetishization of like girl-on-girl relationships, and like that's again really off-putting.
Men tend to stare and make judgments and also like objectify. So that's one thing.
Whole separation of the romantic from the platonic is like very often lost, at least for me personally.
It's harder because there are less scripts. If there is attraction between a man and a woman speaking within the binary, it's very obvious. It becomes clear to you very quickly. Versus with other genders, it's a little more. It's more of a liminal space. It's more of a gray area. So it takes a lot longer to figure out.
Speaking in terms of WLW relationships, I think one of the most prominent problems is how difficult it is to assert boundaries. it's very difficult to tell what's appropriate or inappropriate, as conventionally women are supposed to be a lot closer than men and women are perceived to be. But we don't have guidelines like that for women loving women relationships the way we have guidelines for male and female relationships.
I can't really be out to like say cousins or like friends of my cousins because I don't know how they'd react, because like within the family circle at least it's not something I can be like openly out about. So that's something that like affects my intimate relationships.
Is a very prominent problem is internalized homophobia. In a country like India, you can't tell your parents that you're queer, so you have to hide your identity from your friends and your family. But as somebody in the queer dating scene, it often becomes about whether your partner hides their identity for their safety, or they're hiding you as a person, as someone who they're with from people because they're ashamed of you.
I'm out to everyone that I know, including my family, but my partner is out to a few of friends and not so much family. It's challenging to be able to meet and give the whole truth of the context.
Non-acceptance and the relationship being not taken seriously. Family members don't accept same-sex relationship or any queer relationship for that matter, and sometimes even those relationships are not taken seriously because many people will, even friends will think that okay, who doesn't understand LGBTQI community will think that two men or two women are together just because they didn't find the right partner, right girl or right boy to get into a relationship with. Because and sometimes this becomes very frustrating and very painful because being in a relationship is mainly as we have a bigger social currency, and it is like when queer people get into a relationship, they just don't want to acknowledge or give them the same privileges as straight people in relationship.